Hi everyone, it's TheTidesChanging here, and welcome to another Sims 4 speed build. Today I'm making a Christmassy, holiday-inspired house named Evergreen Estate because there are a lot of pine trees and such around this house. Originally, I was gonna call it Christmas Tutor, but then I was like, no, I should probably come up with something a little bit more creative than that. I did mean for this house to be a Tutored-styled home, but I think it ends up being more of a Tudor mix than an actual like full-on Tudor house. Like I think it's more of a Tudor and suburban style mixture. But I do really like how it turned out. I had a lot of fun making this house. It's also quite a large house, which is why I've split this speed build up into two parts. Otherwise I'd have an hour-long video, which I just think is quite long for one video, and I'll have the second part up tomorrow. I'll try to have it up earlier in the day than this part went up so that it won't be a full 24-hour wait for the next part. This house has 6 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, so you could fit a pretty large family in it. And it's been quite a while since I've made a house this large. I think this is the largest house that I made since that one I made in the Let's Build a Suburban House series, because that one was 6 bedrooms and I can't remember if it was 3 or 4 bathrooms. I think that might have had more bathrooms in this house, but I think this house is actually bigger because some of the main living area rooms are larger than it was in the suburban house. But yeah, sorry I haven't done a large house in a while. I've done some larger builds for collabs like that hospital and the one house I furnished back in I think it was April or March. I just haven't done a large build of my own from scratch in quite a long time. But I do hope to do some more. I still have that spa that I really need to finish, so I'll finish that at some point in the new year. I completely forgot that I had that, and then I remembered that that was something I need to finish recently. But anyway, the basic structure of the house is finished now, so moving on to putting all the windows in, and I just used a whole bunch of windows that came with Get Together, and I had a lot of fun putting a lot of the new objects to use. They did add in a lot of really good objects for adding detail to the outside of homes. Still working on getting all of the windows in on the outside of the house. Not really the most exciting part of the build to watch, but it doesn't take me too long to figure out what I want to do. Even though this is supposed to be a Christmas house, I didn't end up making it too Christmassy, just so that way if you're downloading this house after Christmas is over, it's pretty easy to de-Christmas it and you don't really have a whole lot of decorations and such to remove. Plus I didn't want the house to look too tacky, so I just kind of kept the Christmas decorations on the outside of the house pretty subtle. But anyway, we're pretty much done with putting all the windows on the outside of the house. I'm just tweaking the roof a bit right now. I do like how the entranceway to the front door looks, like how the front door is kind of set back in there. We also have this really nice deck on the outside of the house here. And that's off of what will be the formal living area. Also using the new foundation that came with Get Together, as well as, at first I used the railing that came with Get Together, although I do change that because I realized that none of the stair railings actually match that railing, which I was disappointed by. You know, I figured, like, usually when they add in a new kind of railing or fencing, they add in a stair railing to match it, but they, for whatever reason, didn't add in a matching railing for that one, for the stairs. So I did end up just replacing the railings to the one that actually matched the one I used for the stairs. I also got rid of that little deck I had off of what would be one of the bedrooms, just because it looked a little bit odd. And right now I'm figuring out the floor plan of this house, which was kind of tricky because when I made this house I didn't think about how the interior would be laid out much. So I was just sitting there trying to figure out how to make everything look good and how to be able to make it so the Sims could move around. And my main issue was with this foyer area in here. So I had to have the stairs come forward a tile like that from the back of the foyer room, or else the Sims would not have been able to get to one side of the house. And over on this side, there is a study, which is the room at the back of the house with a little door going outside, and then towards the front of the house there's a guest bedroom and a guest bathroom, and then outside of that is the formal living area, which is actually pretty large. And then the other side of the downstairs, I couldn't quite figure out the layout of it first, but that's going to be where the kitchen, dining room, and more casual living area will be. And then upstairs there are 5 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. Over on this side there are 2 teen bedrooms and a kid's bedroom. And then on the other side of the house is where the master bedroom and what I made into a nursery is. I decided it'd be good to have the nursery near the parents' bedroom, although if you don't need a nursery, you could just turn it into another kid's bedroom or some other kind of skill building room or something like that. I think I had the layout pretty much figured out at that point. So now moving on to the outside to do the wall painting. And I actually had a lot of fun with this. Usually I find doing the exterior wall painting pretty frustrating because I just get stuck. But I figured out what to do with this house pretty quickly, and I had a lot of fun using all the new Tudor-styled wallpaper that came with this expansion pack. So this wallpaper, like the exterior wallpaper on this house, is definitely more detailed than it usually is on my homes. Because normally I'll use 2, maybe 3 different kinds of wallpapers, but I just use a bunch of different types and I add in little details like putting in those diagonal ones next to the windows where I use the stone. And I also use some of the more detailed plaster and wood ones underneath the windows and also in the roofing, as you can see here. And I really like how it looks, and overall the outside of this house is definitely more detailed, I think, than my houses usually are. But I believe I'm just about finished with doing all of the wallpapering now. So I also added in some trim to separate the 2 floors, like where I had the brick and the plaster type wallpaper, although I didn't put it where I used the stone. And in case you didn't know this, you can just hold down shift when you're placing the trim and it won't place it all over the outside, it'll just place it in little sections. Also, I added in some columns to add in some extra detail, so I just stuck some columns in some of the corners of the house on the first floor here. I spent quite a while on the exterior of this house, and I believe the first 19 or 20 minutes of this part is just working on the outside, but we do get to some interior furnishing in the last 10 minutes. And I do furnish the kitchen, dining room, and less formal living area in this part, and then the next part is of course going to be furnishing the rest of this house. Here I was just tweaking the wall painting a little bit. I thought it might look better to have the stone wallpaper on that area that stuck out a bit, and also changing the roof to a black color so it goes a little bit better with everything else, and also adding in some black trim, which definitely looks much better. Now I'm finally starting on the landscaping, which took me quite a while to do. I got sort of stuck on the landscaping at some points. But something I wanted to do was have this sort of semi-circular walkway going towards the street. So, you have a path going straight out from the stairs and then it branches out into a half circle. I just thought that would look really nice and that it'd be really cool looking to have a fountain in the center of it. And here I'm just getting in a bunch of plants. For whatever reason, I decided to just stick a bunch of pine and cypress trees in the yard first before doing anything else. There is the fountain in the front of the house, which I thought looked quite nice. And with the landscaping on this house, I went for a very lush kind of a look for it. Although at a few points it did look like a complete mess. It took me a while to kind of get things to come together and to get it looking nice. So here I'm just putting in a bunch of those low-lying flowers with a bunch of other bushes sticking out of it. I do also wrap these gardens around the side of the house, also adding in some rocks and such. I do think I take out some of those plants though, because I was worrying it was looking a little bit too busy. Why did I say buzzy? Yeah, it took me a while to find the balance between having the garden look lush but not too lush. And I do also get rid of all these plants that I'm placing around the fountain and just make it all pavement around the fountain, just because I thought it was a little much having those plants near it. Here I am putting the dirt where I want the plants to go around the side of the house and having it continue along the side of that little path a bit, and then going over here to this side, as you can see. Yeah, even though this is a very nice large house, I didn't want the landscaping to have a manicured look to it. Although I do end up making it look a little bit more manicured later on, just because I felt like the wild overgrown look didn't exactly go with the house well enough. Here I'm sticking this around the side. Yeah, not really a whole lot to say about what's going on now. But I am looking forward to Christmas. It's always nice to see my family. It's always my favorite part of the holidays. And I'm just going to be going up to my parents for a couple days and staying there. And then some of my other family's going to be coming over. And also one of my cousins who I don't get to see too often might also be spending the night Christmas night. So her, my mom, and I will probably just watch some movies together, which I'm really looking forward to. But anyway, I'm finishing up. I just finished up the landscaping around the left side of the house, so now I'm moving over here to the right side, and I'm just doing the same thing here with those low-lying flowers. And I got really stuck on what to do beside the stairs there. Like, I kept switching between using that taller tree-like shrub and then just using flowers. Like, I just kept going back and forth on what to do in that area. Also getting a pine tree in there, that little corner, and here was where I went through and took out all those plants that were next to the fountain, just changed it to some pavement, which I think looks a lot better. Definitely helped to clean up the front of the house a bit. I also added a bunch of ivy onto this side of the house, since Get Together did actually come with ivy, which made me really happy because before, to get the look of ivy, I would just use those window planters and stick them all over the side of the house, which from far away looked fine, but then once you got up close to the house, you could tell it wasn't actually ivy. But yeah, it just makes me so happy that there's now actual ivy in the game, so I made sure to put that to use and put it on the side of the house. I also put some wreaths in some of the windows. I only put them in the windows on the top floor, because I was thinking it might look a bit busy if I had wreaths in every window, and plus you can kind of see the top floor more than the bottom floor. I was also thinking about using that light up holiday tree, but for whatever reason it just didn't seem to fit in that well to me. And I was also trying to figure out where to put other holiday decorations. Like, we had the snowmen there, and then I made them look bigger and stuck them in the front of the house, but it just to me looked tacky. And this was where the landscaping was just looking like a mess to me, and I wasn't happy with it, and I was just trying to figure out how I could fix it and get it to where I actually liked it. Here I was changing the plaster type wallpaper to one that had less wood in it, if that makes any sense, because I thought that the wallpaper I had before was a bit too busy with all the landscaping going on. So I thought it'd be good to just make the outside of the house look a little bit simpler. Then I thought that maybe a fence would be what the yard needs to look a little bit better, and I think having the fence in there definitely helped. It gave the house a more grand look that I felt like it needed. And then what I did that I thought really made the garden, or made the plant areas look a lot better, was making a rock border around them, just so that way it looked more like an intentional area of plants rather than just like that it was just overgrown next to the house. I thought that really helped a lot, so I was feeling much better about how the outside of this house was looking at this point. And since I did that, I thought it'd be fine to stick some more flowers and such into those garden areas now that they looked a little bit neater and nicer. I felt like there wasn't enough holiday type stuff in the front of the house, so I just added in 2 little snowmen on either side of the path going to the front of the house. And then I quickly moved around to the back to just put in a little garden plot area in the corner here, just with some plants and rocks bordering it and such, like I did around the front of the house. And after that I actually go back to the front of the house just to tweak things a little bit. I still wasn't happy with that area in the corner right here, so I was just trying to figure out what to do there. I like the cypress tree, but I thought it looked a bit too busy with it, so I just took it out, put in some other kinds of plants, and then put in more ivy. And then I ended up putting the cypress tree back in anyway. But for the backyard, I was thinking about putting in a pool at first, but I thought there wasn't quite enough space out back here to put in a pool and also add in some other things I wanted to, like outdoor dining and a grill and all of that. So what I did instead was I just made this large brick patio and put some furniture on it. I just thought that really suited this build more. And plus, not every house needs a pool to it. I also did the same thing, like have the gardens on the front kind of come around the side and go up to the edge of the patio area, which I thought looked quite nice. Like, I like how it kind of fits in with the garden areas. I actually like how the back of the house looks more than the front of the house. So I'm just finishing up getting all of these flowers in and then just going through and adding in all of the other plants inside of here. It was really nice to just make a house where I didn't have to worry about keeping with the budget, because it's actually been a while since I did that, because recently I just been doing budgeted type builds. So I just really liked being able to go crazy with the landscaping and not have to worry about how much I was spending. And I actually don't think this house ends up being too ridiculously expensive. If I remember correctly, it cost 220 something. It might be more than that. I could be off, but I know it's definitely under 300,000, which isn't too bad for a house of this size that's furnished in a pretty detailed manner. Right now I'm just adding in some outdoor dining. At first I was gonna put one of the umbrella tables in the middle of this table, but then I remembered that there was that separate umbrella item that came with Get Together, so I decided to put that to use, which definitely looks a bit nicer than being able to see this glass circle in the middle of the table. I did stick in a hot tub over there, as you may have seen, so while this house doesn't have a pool, it still does have a hot tub. I thought it should at least have that. I was thinking about putting in some kind of greenhouse, that's why I had that glass thing over there, but no, I decided not to do that and put in some playground equipment instead, because this will be, I did imagine this as being a home for a large family, so I thought there should be something for the kids to play on outside. And here I was just doing something I like to do with these stone paths where I put it down and then I just color, I put it on the smallest brush setting and then I just go over where the stones are to make them a little bit more visible. And then I erase any stones that you can kind of see, just because I feel like it looks a bit more realistic that way. After that, I spent a while trying to arrange the whole monkey bar area, just because I wanted there to be plants around it, but then I didn't want the plants to be too crowded around it, because you don't really want it to look like pine branches are poking into the path where the kids would be going across. But I finally figured that out, so now moving over here to a bonfire pit. I thought that'd be a nice feature. I was going to put in the get-together one, but I didn't think there was quite enough room for that. And I just like how you can have seats and stuff around this one. I could have put seats around the other one if I used that, but again, I don't think there would have been enough room to have them all the way around, unless I wanted chairs right up against the fire, which I don't think would work out that well. I'm pretty sure the chairs would catch on fire if I did that. Although I'm sure they'll still catch on fire the way I placed them, because I found out that the campfire fires happen very frequently. It kind of sucks that they still catch on fire when you place them where they snap to. It just seems like almost every time I use one of those, one of the chairs catches on fire. I finished up with the whole monkey bar area, so now moving back over here to put in some seating, because I thought that there needed to be something in that area there. I couldn't just leave it all empty. So I just put in some of the seating that came with perfect patio stuff, and I think that looks pretty nice. I had an ottoman in there at first, but then I just decided to put in a coffee table instead so that I could put some decorations on it. I don't think it'll be too much longer though before I move on to the interior, which I'm looking forward to. I always enjoy talking about the inside more, and I just find it easier to talk about, I guess because there's more detail involved with furnishing the house. But here I was thinking that the front of the house still looked a little bit too busy, so I just pulled the garden on the left side in a little bit and got rid of that pine tree. And then I just had this path come around and connect to the path going into the house. So hopefully that helps some with how the front of the house looks. And I did make the stone paths look a bit more subtle. Now I'm moving on to doing the nighttime lighting. I was trying out using some street lamps in the front of the house, but I didn't think they went well with the house. So I'm just sticking a whole bunch of these garden lamps in the little plant areas where you can't really see them, and then also just getting some wall lights on the walls on the outside of the house, and I think I used pretty much all get-together lights on the outside of the house here. And yeah, once I'm done with that, we'll finally be moving on to furnishing the inside of the house. I think I'm just about finishing up with that, just getting a wall light here above the door, and then I decided to put a hanging light on the ceiling here. So that's actually it for, oh never mind, that's not actually it for the lighting, just getting some lighting near the fountain as well. And I think that's actually it. Yeah, so now I finally get to move on to the interior. In this part I furnished the left side of the first floor, so that's the entrance area, kitchen, dining room, and less formal living area. So here I'm getting started on the entrance area, and I decided to use the really nice spotty chandelier. I just really like how that looks. And something I did throughout the first floor was, instead of using the doorway type arches, I removed the walls, put in the spandrels that came with Get Together, and then put the Get Together, like the smaller columns that came with Get Together on either side, which created sort of an arch look that was more open than the actual arches are. And I really liked how that looked, and I just did it a lot throughout the first floor. You can also see that I did that to the left of the front door when you're looking at it this way. Also just getting some more lighting in the entrance area. And I used the wood flooring that came with Spooky Day throughout most of the house, just as I really like the sort of old-fashioned look that it had. And then in the foyer, I wasn't sure what to put. And then I remember that in a previous Let's Build I did, I think it was the Factory House one, someone suggested that I put a circular table with a plant on it in the entrance area. And I didn't actually do it in that build, but then I was thinking that could look really nice in this one. Now I'm just doing the arch type thing I was talking about before, going into the dining room. So the layout over in this side of the house is actually kind of odd. I wasn't really sure how to use the space. So the kitchen is next to the area where the stairs are, and it goes back, and that area in the back of it in front of the window I turn into a breakfast nook. So you do have two eating areas, one's less formal than the other, and then the dining room is that room to in front of the kitchen, or like to the right of it when you look at it now. That was the best way I could think of to use the space well and have a large enough dining room. Originally I had the dining room as a 3-tile wide room in front of that window where the kitchen is. You may have seen it back in the beginning of the video, but I just feel like that wasn't large enough for the dining room. I did get all of the cabinets and counters and such in the kitchen, and the kitchen has a very dark color scheme to it. That's just what I thought suited the house best for whatever reason. And the furnishing style that I went with for this house was a mixture of traditional and contemporary, and that's what I tend to do a lot in houses, and that's just really my favorite style of furnishing. I just like mixing old and new furniture. I did think about furnishing all of this house in a traditional manner, but I don't like furnishing houses in a completely traditional manner. I just don't really like a lot of the very traditional furniture that's in the game, and I don't really like a lot of the color choices that they have. But that's just my personal preference, although maybe I'll do a smaller home furnished in a old traditional manner in the future. I think I have done a few though. I did make a fairy tale cottage over a year ago that was pretty much furnished in a traditional style. That was a fun little build to do. But I just really like the look of older homes that are renovated but still hold some of their traditional touches. Like, that's personally what I would like to have in a house, like when I actually buy a house in the future and I'm not renting anymore. I don't know if I'd actually want to take on renovating a house, so I think that'd be a bit too large of a project for me, but it would be nice to buy a house that is already renovated, although if you buy an already renovated house, that does make it quite a bit more expensive than if you actually renovated it yourself. But anyway, I'll figure that out way in the future. But I believe at this point the kitchen's actually finished, so now I'm moving on to the breakfast nook. I just wasn't sure what to do with this area. I thought it'd be kind of weird if I continued the kitchen into there, so I just turned it into a more casual eating area. That area is just about done though. I do go back later and change the paneling to something else, because it was a bit too fancy for that area, and I'm about to move on to the dining room. I actually got stuck on the dining room. I had quite a few scrapped attempts at furnishing it, where I would pretty much have it furnished all the way, and then I would decide that I didn't like it, get rid of everything, and start over. I had that happen a couple times, and I did of course cut it out just because there was a lot of that with this house, and if I kept all of that in, the speed build would have been an hour and a half instead of an hour. I don't think it's very fun to watch a room be completely furnished and then just deleted and redone. But in the end, I was pretty happy with how this room turned out. I did use those bubble chairs. I really liked them, and thought they looked very nice in here. I tried out some other chairs in the failed attempts that I had, but I just didn't like how they looked as much as these. Here I'm just putting some stuff on a table in front of the wall, though I do change it to this table. I also changed the red walls to a yellow color just so it looked a little bit brighter, because of the rest of the house so far has been furnished with kind of dark colors, so I thought that this room could really use something to brighten it up a bit. Here was where I changed the walls in that breakfast nook area to something else. And then I like the yellow walls, but I didn't like them being the only kind of wallpaper in this room, so I just added in some more of that stone as an accent. And from here on, I did add the stone as an accent in a lot of the rooms. I just thought it'd be nice to have that sort of theme continue throughout the house. I believe this room is just about done. Yeah, now I'm moving on to the informal living area. Just getting planned there, adding in all the lights and such. I was gonna put a TV against the wall here at first, but I felt like the couches and all that wouldn't really fit in that well around it, so I just stuck one on a table in front of the window here. This is supposed to be the more casual living room anyway, so I figured it didn't have to be very fancy and grand. Also used those couches from Get to Work. I've really been using those couches quite a bit lately. I just like how they looked. For the longest time I didn't use them at all, but lately I've been using them quite a bit. I did mix them with the end table and coffee table that came with Get Together, so there you have the mixing of old and new furniture, and I do really like how that combination looks. I was thinking about putting in a laundry basket, because I do like to do that. I've done that in other builds just because personally I fold laundry in the living room, so sometimes I'll have a basket of laundry in there, but I felt like the space was a bit too crowded, so I just took it out. Here I'm just making a few tweaks to the dining room actually, and then getting back to the living room. I wanted to use the rug that I had in the dining room and the living room, but then I didn't want to use that same rose rug in both of the rooms since they are right next to each other. Also, since I used that blue in the living room, I thought I should use something different in this eating area, so I did switch it to a purple, which goes pretty nicely with the green. Just adding in some stone for a bit of extra detail and figuring out what else to put around the TV. I'm pretty sure this is what I end up leaving there. I also wanted to get some kind of painting up on this wall. I do go ahead and use some of the paintings that you can unlock with Hidden Objects cheat, which is bb.show hidden objects. I'm just trying to figure out something else to put in this corner here, and then here I stuck a bookshelf. I was thinking about putting a computer in there first, like a family computer, but there will be a study, so I figured another computer right there wasn't really necessary, plus it would have been sort of crowded if I had that in there. So yeah, I think the whole TV area and everything is pretty much done at this point. Just getting a rug in there in front of that. And I wasn't sure what to do with this area going into the kitchen, so I just put in some of these tall cabinets to make it look like sort of a pantry area as you go in there. We are almost at the end of this part though, so I just wanted to say that there is a download link in the description in case you are interested in downloading this house. There's also some other information down there on how to find it in-game. Part 2 will be up tomorrow on Christmas Day, and when that's up I'll put a link to it in the description as well. This is where I'm going to leave off though, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and bye!